Baiken has been a talking point in the last year or so of Guilty Gear, with the phrase "no Baiken, no Baiken" becoming a common phrase used by the anti-Strive crowd. But why are people so passionate about this character? A big piece of it could be her design, but what about gameplay? Baiken is commonly looked at as a defensive character. Her unique ability to perform certain specials out of block stun makes her scary to pressure, so turtling is a common strategy. Unless your tag is Woocash, that is. Woocash, a returning guest known for both his Anji and Baiken play, loves Baiken for more than just her defensive assets. He sees Baiken as a tactical character who can capitalize with massive damage when she gets a hit, and today he shares the secret sauce. What is up, y'all? KRC Pinto here. Today, I brought back an old friend. We got Woocash here. Woocash, how you doing, man?
Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for having me again.
Dude, stoked to have you back. And today, talking about your other main character in Guilty Gear Plus R, Baiken. So, Baiken, one of the most popular Guilty Gear characters of all time, for sure. Also, kind of one of the most interesting. There's a lot to this character. You run her and Anji, so obviously there's going to be some interesting looks at like why and when you play Baiken, and really I'm just excited to get into it. You ready to start?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, let's do it. Let's start off where a Guilty Gear conversation should start. Every character in this game has something about them that is like, not necessarily a gimmick, but a unique trait, something they do that no other character can do. What is that for Baiken?
Yes, for sure. So for Baiken, those are guard cancels, or some people call them alpha counters, like if they're a storied fighting game player, but that's what Baiken has. Baiken is able to act while in block stun or while defending from enemy attacks.
That is a scary thought. How does this come into play? Like, what's a good example of like what this looks like in practice?
Yeah, so Baiken has several moves out of it. She basically has 5 moves that she can do out of it, kind of like tied to the PK, S, HS, and D buttons. And anytime she's in block stun, she can utilize almost any of them, except the D option costs meter, but it's of course the most powerful, being a force break and then a super. So, for example, if I manage to like record something with Soul here, so if Soul does, let's say, Bandit Bringer, we have an anti-air option with P done like so. So that looked insanely quick. Basically, each option is done by pressing back as you're blocking, very convenient, and then bringing your finger down to the down motion. So you just do a smooth like reverse quarter circle downward from the back. So it's very convenient to do this while you're blocking, and you can do this very quickly. And getting good at this is very much key for Baiken, because sometimes some moves will get through and sometimes some moves won't get through, so depending on how fast you do the guard cancel. So if Soul, for example, does the stomp move instead, I believe that if we don't do this fast enough, he will just be safe, or we're gonna get out of block stun. So in those type of situations, it can matter a lot. So that's just one of them, Zakuro, which is an awesome anti-air. It's actually preferred over Baiken 6P. I love using it. Everybody should be using it. It can be safe jumped, if they jump in very low with an attack, but in general, it's very fast. It gives Baiken a lot of meter, and it always gives a knockdown, and it's also used as a combo ender. So let me just briefly go over a couple of the other options. So let's say...
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
You said you can use it as a combo ender, so you don't have to be in block stun to use them. You just can use them in block stun?
That's right.
Okay.
So the way to do that is with Baiken's special move called Suzerain, which is half circle back K. So this makes Baiken go into like this armored dashing run. Well, it's actually more like a block. She just blocks medium and high attacks while doing this. But they gave Baiken access to her guard cancel moves out of this, so she can do all these moves out of Suzerain. So this is how she can access them as a combo ender.
Oh, okay.
So also when we get to combos, I'll show you the common combo ender from 6P. But if let's say Soul is doing like a short string on us, right? And then we can do a couple of options. If we do Sakura, which is this one, is with a slash button, it can actually lose to a bunch of buttons. It doesn't really have invul on it. It needs to be done like in between attacks or quicker. So see, we're getting counter hit, and Soul can actually low profile that with 2D. Alternatively, though, we have other options. We can do Mawarikomi behind, which can still be hit by his 2D, unless we do it like at the end. Or if he like does super, that's a lot easier to counter with. But if we do our strongest option, Baku, which is with the D button, this will make Soul pay with a nice combo for 25 meter. Baku is definitely her strongest option, costing 25 meter. It's insanely fast. It's very safe on block. Even if they block it, Baiken isn't disadvantaged. It's almost instant. It can't be low profiled. It leads to big damage on counter hit, and it leads to a super, which we'll get to later. But just to showcase like how Sakura and the other options work, we can also have the dummy like do a super, if I can manage that. So if Soul, let's say, does super, right? We can that's very easy for Baiken to counter either with Sakura into that counter hit, because you're doing it like in between attacks, or you can easily get back behind him with Mawarikomi. And then you can do whatever combo you want. And the last option is kind of like a long range option, good against like Faust, for example. That's Oren. Baiken like goes behind the enemy and slashes them. This combo's on counter hit. It just gives you like a knockdown on regular hit and crosses the opponent up. It is very unsafe on block. So yeah, you from everything that I've told, you can glean that all of these attacks have their own weaknesses, probably except for Baku, which is kind of like an almost flawless option, unless they bait it or something, do something unusual. But all these options have weaknesses, even this one, and so on and so forth.
Okay. And then, is Baku the one that can seal movement options?
Yeah, so I know you're gonna want to ask me about my favorite move. So this is the cue for the Baku super. So this is one of those supers in Plus R that's kind of like a follow up to a force break. So when you do Baku, you have an option of 3 follow ups and then 5 follow ups, which sounds overwhelming, but basically out of this Baku you have 3 curses as an option. This is the P curse, or kind of like the flower curse. I think it's called Sakura in the game. Soul flashes blue for I think about 15 seconds. He is unable to jump, backdash, or forward dash. It's basically like a movement ceiling option. So this can mess up a lot of people like Ino, maybe Johnny. They can't move at all, or Chip. Their movement options are heavily hampered down. So that's one of the curses. And the other curse is this one with K. You get like this it's called Tsuki, I think, moon, right? So we saw like a moon icon there. You have to kind of pay attention to which curse you get and how you light up. That's how you can identify which thing you've just been cursed with. So this one, as you can see, causes every attack to be a counter hit. It does prorate the damage, so don't worry, you're not like getting killed, but it does prorate the combo a lot. There's a bunch of tactical uses for it. So that's the other curse, right? With me so far?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, and then the last option with S is this one, Crane. You will shine light blue. It lasts the shortest amount of time. It also prorates the combo, but Baiken's next attack cannot be blocked. So basically, this is an unblockable setup. If I do something like this, you could not block that JHS that I just did there. And I can combo out of it. The damage will be prorated, so it won't be very nearly as damaging as it was with a curse, but you can, for example, throw somebody and then actually do that curse on certain hitboxes and then get a free unblockable setup. And then very quickly, with every curse, no matter which curse you do, you have an option of a follow-up button. So you can do this into like HS, and Baiken will do like an HS attack, and it tells you at the bottom right, you can kind of see it through the input display, that it tells you that the HS button is blocked. So Soul is, well, for the duration of the curse, Soul additionally, additionally to every hit being a counter hit, he cannot use the HS button, which means he cannot throw, for example. He can't use anything tied to HS button. And you have the same thing for every button. So with Slash, you can do this. You're preventing them from doing Slash, and this also automatically combos. So you can like corner carry them for free to the corner. And it's the same thing with the movement option. You can put K on them if you want, so now they can't use the K button. Probably very useful against Jam. Or you can use the D option, which is this one. They can't burst because their dust button is blocked, and they still have to suffer through the curse. So yeah, those are the three curses, three status effect, and then your dealer's choice of a button that you want to seal for the duration of the curse. Great tactical tool, great way to shut down the opponent. A lot of people don't really know what the curses do. Maybe they realize that their button is blocked, but some of them don't, especially like newer players. So I really like this aspect of Baiken. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to like confuse the opponent and have them like unable to, let's say, throw you back or anything. They have to play in under very interesting condition. They have to play with like this handicap for the next like 12 to 15 seconds, or maybe they have to eat an unblockable setup. So yeah, that's definitely a really fun aspect of Baiken, and it looks really cool too. It looks super stylish, so that's what I love about it too.
So you straight up have to study to fight Baiken, because there's no way, like, unless someone sits down and like knows the character fairly well, like you have to be able to identify what normal she hit you with to like, know what you're locked out. That's kind of crazy.
It does tell you in the bottom right which button is sealed, but it doesn't tell you like which curse it is. So you have to at least know the curses, and you'll have to know that your button is blocked and not like try to combo into something that requires the S button. You have to play around having it. This has been her shtick, honestly. Like, while Exerd does not have something like this, she did have different curses in Reload, actually, and it still didn't tell you which one you got hit with unless you can identify the kanji that shows up. But she had a couple of different ones in Reload, but that's probably another story. So yeah, this is definitely my favorite move, and it's really cool on her. So obviously don't guard cancel, or don't do dead angle as Baiken, because you can just do Baku, or you can just do the and into the curse. Yeah, the interesting thing about it too is that sometimes Baku on its own, this without the follow-up, is better than the curse, because this leads to very damaging combos on counter hit, which we'll probably get to later. But you can do very high damage off of this on counter hit versus for going for a curse. But conversely, on normal hit, it's very difficult to combo from a normal hit Baku, but they do chain easily into the follow-ups.
It seems like it'd be really valuable when your opponent is at like lower health too, and you just want to close it out because you're shutting down a button. You can shut down movement. Like, there's a lot of ways. Like, I can see this. Like, all right, I'm gonna finish this round out. I have some tension. Let's go.
Oh, definitely, for sure. Yeah, very great tactical use for Baiken. Yep. Like on somebody like Testament, as I was saying, you can off of throw, you can do like unblockable setups like this, and they can't block this, right? And you just get another combo. And then like just have to find kind of like uses for this. Like, this is a great side switch thing, and then like if you're cornered, you can side switch easily and then bring them back all the way to the other side, and then still get a knockdown. So yeah, those are like the big uses that I would say, in addition to just like throwing out the movement stifling curse.
Were those tatami loops exclusive to like that curse because it's all counter hits, or would that always work?
That's right. Yeah, you can just endlessly chain 6HS and tatami as they are cursed with the counter hit curse.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Baiken's matchups. So you're a dual main. You play Anji and Baiken. So I'm really interested to hear your take on what you where you think she excels. Who do you like to bust out your Baiken to fight against, and who do you immediately pick Anji against?
Yeah, so let's see. Baiken, I think, is considered a very strong character, which is indeed true, but she still has some weaknesses. So maybe I'll talk about the weaknesses first. I'd say definitely like Potemkin is the hardest for her, or one of the hardest. I'd say. Obviously, being a grappler, the threat of Potemkin Buster is very strong. Baiken has trouble dealing with Sledge. Sorry, I mean Hammerfall. Uh, Hammerfall, like having that armor, is just very difficult to deal with for Baiken because the single hit armor will absorb Tatami, Kabari, the chain that she has, right? Any normals. It's kind of like it takes care of most of the guessing game for Potemkin. The best thing that Baiken can do is like block it and then Sakura punish it. She does get a punish on it if she blocks it, but then Potemkin can like FRC and like Podbuster her anyway. Potemkin has pretty good mix on Oki, right? He can overhead Baiken, which you even though you have guard cancels, you still have to kind of guess high and low, or cross up. So that's how primarily how you should be mixing up Baiken. Cross her up, do overheads. Don't just do lows. Don't do like lots of mids that she can just be in block stun for a long time. Yeah, Pot is definitely a very scary for her. I'd say with like the tools that he has. He's got plenty of tools to deal with Baiken. So like conversely, someone like Eddie is a fairly easy matchup for Baiken, just on the account that Eddie's pressure is very block hit oriented, right? He wants to keep you in block stun for a long time, or that's how his pressure works. So Baiken has kind of like a lot of options to use her guard cancels there. And similarly with Kai, like when Kai sends in projectiles, he often has to just back off. Like you don't even have to do guard cancels as Baiken that much while you're defending, because the players will often back off when they see Baiken blocking, right? They'll jump away. So you kind of get out of free for pressure there. So anybody that does like a lot of block oriented pressure is pretty good for Baiken. So similarly, like the other very strong characters like Zappa and Testament are actually not terrible matchups for Baiken. I think they're pretty even or close to even. Zappa maybe being harder because of Sword. The Sword summon is super difficult to deal with for almost anybody, but for Baiken too, with like the high-low mix-up, hitting Baiken from the other side of the screen, it's very scary. But like Testament also has a lot of block pressure, a lot of traps that you can kind of like Suzerain through, run through them and stuff like that. But yeah, Baiken is otherwise pretty strong against most characters like Cliff. She can dominate Cliff with Tatami and guard cancels. Axel has kind of a big hurt box. Anji is pretty weak against Baiken. Baiken can stuff so much from Anji with just Tatami. Like Fujin just loses to Tatami completely, or many other Baiken normals, they just lose to it. Slayer is like pretty scary, but you can kind of zone him out with Tatami. With Milia, it's also kind of like a guessing game if you can catch her. Chip is, I think, pretty bad for pretty bad. It's a hard matchup for him because Baiken just has so much damage. As long as she can catch him, she can just eat him away. Abba, I think, is also in favor for Baiken. She can curse Abba. She can get knockdowns on her, withstand her pressure pretty easily. Obviously, Abba can still rush down Baiken and has a very strong throw, but yeah. Baiken is pretty strong against Abba. So I'd say like some matchups where I would probably use Anji over Baiken is like Johnny. Johnny can has a good throw game and jam as well. Those two have like a very good throw game against Anji, or against Baiken, I mean. So I would probably use Anji there. Somebody like Soul and Order Soul are like can be hard to control for Baiken, and the cross-ups from Order Soul and like his overhead can be a little scary for Baiken. So I'd probably use Anji, and actually against Milia too, I'd probably use Baiken because it's hard to do guard cancels against Milia because you're guessing where you're guessing a high low a lot and cross up, right? So it's difficult to do guard cancels. And Bridget too is like a little bit difficult to hunt down for Baiken. Anji has the Superman grab and on and the F Force break on that can fish out Bridget. I'd say Robokai is a little bit difficult for Baiken too because of like his command throw and missiles like zoning Baiken out. So Baiken can still be zoned out. Venom is kind of even with Baiken, even though he has a lot of projectiles. Baiken can just kind of crap on his pressure for sure. I probably not even. This probably is actually disadvantageous to Venom actually. So yeah, it depends a lot. People really have to adjust their game plan around Baiken. So if they don't do that, then you will have a much easier time.
Let's talk about Baiken's neutral. So, what kind of tools does Baiken have to close the gap in this game?
Yeah, so Baiken definitely does need to close the gap because like her attacks are very short range. A lot of combos don't really work unless they are like absolutely point blank. So like with this move, it needs to hit very close. Otherwise, see the opponent like just attacks a lot earlier versus like this hitting up close. Tatami also like there isn't really much of a combo with Tatami unless it's like in the corner. So yeah, your plan is to drive them to the corner for sure. So as for tools, Baiken has a couple. Kabari is a nice like long range poke that's plus for her, pulls the opponent closer, makes like a kind of like a guessing game in her favor when they are hit with it. On counter hit, it's a combo. So it's good to kind of like reach for the opponent. It can be like if you predictably like end your block string with like Kabari every time, they probably can like Fujin through it or something. That's always the example that I bring, like Fujin through it. Just some kind of special that goes through that has some invul if you're very predictable with it. So there's Kabari, and then there's like and there's Suzuran, the armored run that we brought up earlier, right? So it's a good way to close the gap. Most common option out of is throw, but this run is also vulnerable to lows because it doesn't block low. However, you can just hit them with a move at the end of it. Like if you can try to do a Sakura like at the end of it, then you'll just hit them, counter hit them, whatever option they were doing. Or if they were doing like some throw invulnerable move, like Baiken 6K is throw invulnerable, so very good against like Potemkin Buster or like as a wake up tool. You can do that. But yeah, primarily it's Tatami for neutral, and you can do some fast air dashing to get Tatamis out and spam on your opponent. This obviously blocks projectiles. It's vulnerable to jump in, so if Baiken is doing this a lot, you can jump in over her head and get in. But this is a strong tool at the kind of like zoning your opponent out and getting into neutral and hoping to like get a counter hit out of it. So air back dash Tatami kind of like will cover you. It's like a retreating option. And then for the air dash Tatami, very fast like approach option. Very good on counter hit, obviously. There we go. And you get like combos out of it. You can like pump meter into it and do FRC. Otherwise, you can like poke the opponent some. Sometimes you throw out a wild Oren or something. Depending on the matchup, sometimes you just want to wait for them to do something and then punish it with like a guard cancel. So as we saw, like if Soul does Bandit Bringer or like Riot Stomp, you saw me do Zakuro like almost instantly on it, or any jump ins that they do, and then Baiken gets a knockdown, and then Baiken can get her game going and stuff like that. So it's like a mix of like playing kind of defensively and doing guard cancels, and then getting close to like rushing your opponent and do Oki and stuff like that until you get to the corner where you have more damaging combos.
When you do air Tatami, is the mat then falling on their head?
That's right. So it does that, which is like one of her prime tools in Oki. So whenever you get a knockdown, you can do this and run in, or you can, if they block it, you can just Suzerain into throw, and that will be kind of hard to see. And then you get like nice combos from throw in the corner. Baiken's throw is comboable in the corner for free or for 25 meter if you want to pour in a little bit of extra damage there. But yeah, the falling tatami is like one way to get some nice Oki or like control V opponent, and you can combo off of it. You just like her jump in neutral moves are very good. Like slash is very good, very long range, and so is her dust in the air.
That's her JD with the dragon.
Yep.
That's sick.
Cannon. She has an FRC point, which is like key for her like combos, but like one neutral move that I like to do a lot too is if we set them on counter hit. If we set them on counter hit, then air dash S combos into tatami, which is like a very strong thing. Leads to a lot. Let's see. There we go. So that's like half their health from that. And as we mentioned, like you really want to counter hit with tatami, like that's your goal. And then you can do like some very strong combos from that.
Yeah, that was something I wanted to ask too. It sounds like a lot of what you're doing is fishing for a counter hit versus like trying to get a base hit.
Yeah, so contrary to like popular opinion, like Baiken isn't some like turtle that like just wants to like block and do counters. Baiken's more of like, think of her as like a trapping character who's like who has like a strategy, and that strategy is to capitalize on your mistake, which is like if you're mashing or something, or if you're getting counter hit, or if you fly into the tatami, or if you do like weak pressure or not good pressure against like Baku or something, then you do a big combo off of it, and you make them hurt and you make them pay for it. So like in the corner, counter hit tatami leads to more good combos. But let's see. Like this is how much you can get out of a counter hit tatami, and that's with no meter. But if you want to pour in meter, that's a lot more. But yeah, take advantage of the fact that tatami has an untechable wall bounce on counter hit, which lets you do like stuff like this. So that's a nice down combo for 25 meter. So the most rewarding thing is to do 6HS into JD and then FRC into stuff. That's the most rewarding thing that Baiken can get off of counter hit, really, unless she's already at the corner, then she doesn't need to corner carry. But that's like one piece of Baiken combo theory, this like JD FRC air dash stuff.
All right, let's talk about Baiken's pressure and mix-ups. So you close the gap in neutral. They don't get the counter hit, but now they're blocking. It's your turn to open them up. What are you going to do?
So in terms of like Baiken pressure and offense, she does have a bunch of good tools. Her mix-up isn't really like the best in the game. She's not as much of a rushdown character as some people are. But that's okay because we still have a bunch of tools. So like one of the most common tools is like 6K into 2HS is good because it leaves us plus. It leaves us right next to them. And 6K is throw invulnerable. So like if they're blocking this, Baiken is plus, and it's like very bad for them to like mash anywhere here. They're risking like a big counter hit, unless they do something like reversal or like slash back the hits of 2HS. But it's difficult, and as you can see, like we're cranking up the guard gauge slowly. Doing stuff like it's probably best to do like avoid doing just like pressure into tatami like this, because if the first part of tatami hits, then the frame advantage is not very big, and you just kind of push the opponent out and you just didn't do any pressure. It might be better to try to condition them differently. Like you could do like stuff into Kabari, which will leave Baiken plus, which will maybe prompt them to do like a reversal, which then you can bait and stuff like that. But tatami kabari is a better like block pressure reset often than tatami. And then the other option is, as we probably mentioned, is like do stuff into Suzerain. So you can cut your pressure earlier into Suzerain, but you also don't have to like really special cancel. You can like just do stuff like this, kind of like a tick throw pressure until you throw them. So Baiken's mix up is heavily oriented with throw, like the throw and kind of like frame trapping them. So you gotta focus on mixing up the like this into like throw. You probably have to like dash up a little bit. Depends a little bit on their like reactions. Like some people are still slow to like react to this, or if they start to beat that, you can do this into like Baku and then counter hit them, right? And then the other options is Baiken's Dust is a little bit slow, so people will probably block that. But we also have Yozansen, another air move that Baiken has, which is an overhead. So to get this as like an overhead on a crouching opponent, you have to do the tiger knee technique. So like do the move, you buffer the move on the ground, but then do a jump and then press the slash button. So it's kind of like a DP motion with an up motion added, or diagonally. There's a couple of ways to do it, but yeah, basically like it will be. Sometimes I still struggle with doing it, but it's something like this. It takes some getting used to do it, because there's like the buffer is a little bit weird, and well, actually the lack of buffer is a little bit weird in plus R. But yeah, pretty much like an unseeable overhead, right? You can kind of catch wind of Baiken going to do it if like they do a jump cancelable move, like I just did. Her sweep is jump cancelable, and like her slash is jump cancelable, and her 5P is. So if Baiken is like could do something like this into that, and then they can do the overhead, but they can also chain into like 2K for a low. So yeah, it's kind of like a guessing game. On the plus side for the opponent, you don't really get much of Yozansen unless you spend 50 meters and do a difficult combo. So you have to do a kind of a difficult tatami cancel, RC cancel, but then you can get like this much damage out of it. So it's 266 for a corner combo. You can combo off of mid screen too, but it's a little bit difficult, and it depends a little bit on the hurt box. And sometimes you might even have to spend 75 meter total. But to do this easily, what I tell players, and there's more information about this in my like FAQ. You can just press the quarter circle motion during Yozansen. So do this, then the quarter circle motion, and then just press the RC button. And the RC button will both cancel Yozansen and make a tatami come out right away. So you don't have to like do anything too crazy. So that's how you can get this done fast. And then you can combo from it depending on the situation. But yeah, that's like one of the key things to learning with Baiken. It's one of her a couple of like kind of like execution barriers, you could say, but it's very rewarding to be able to do it. And I mean, I wouldn't say it's like one of the hardest things in the game. It's not. It's like mid-tier difficulty, I'd say. Then you have like JHS, which not really much of a mix-up, but sometimes like if they mash or something, you can catch them with this very big stick, basically. Yeah, it's active all the way till Baiken like falls down, and then it just leads to so much damage, as everything that Baiken does, right? But the combo was a little too long, that's why it didn't knock down. But if we like shorten it a little bit, we can get a knockdown like that. You can do a pretty long string on people to build their gauge. You can do like close slash into 6B, into like 6K, into 2HS, and then kind of like reset, and then do this. So see, this string is very long, so you can kind of keep chaining on people. Oh yeah, there is one more really strong tool that we gotta mention. Tatami has that flap down effect, right? Which is actually very, very strong. We don't have this in Exerd. We didn't have this in Exerd, which I missed dearly. But the flap down on the ground tatami is kind of a separate effect. So if they're too far to be hit with the initial flap up, the flap down will keep them pressured. But Baiken is already like recovered pretty much by that time. So you can do like very strong pressure like this where it's almost gapless. It's not quite gapless, but depending on like how fast I am, I can catch their jump, or like you definitely don't want to press buttons there because you're gonna die. You know, huge damage, huge paration.
Oh man.
Right, it's the with the guard gauge built up, right? But 5HS is a huge starter, and then so like you can utilize that flap down. And one other big thing that I can mention about like when we talked about Baiken being a tactical character that like wants to trap your opponent, you know, if you're crouch blocking in the corner, Baiken has also an or if you mash, so either on counter hit or crouch hit, 2S also goes into down slash goes also into combos into tatami or standing slash, which is huge because if you get hit like that in the corner, that's when you eat a big combo, right? Because if you're not crouching, then this or this won't combo. And then also you can do endlessly chain 5S and 2S like this, and then end it with tatami, and then see if the flap down can get them.
So we already touched on this a little bit, but let's see if there's anything more to learn here. Let's talk about Baiken's Oki. So we talked about the tatami map following. Is that like her primary thing to do?
Yeah, like Baiken Oki is not super involving, to be honest. It's kind of like your classic strike throw, bait reversals, safe jump, and then with this, you know, with the falling tatami. So like for the most part, like after like Zakuro, you can like set up a safe jump. So if they're like Soul or something, you can after this, you can like set up a safe jump with that, and then like get a combo, like basically option select like blocking their dragon punch on wake up or not. And then
it seems like there's layers to that though, because her having a safe jump, if she has to do the safe part of the safe jump, she can then counter them.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, anybody. This is like a system-wide mechanic, but basically, like anybody, Baiken will like land safely, and if they don't do a reversal, like they'll be blocking this. But if they do a reversal, Baiken will just land, and you can hold back to block, and they will do a very dragon punch. But you're safe because you landed, and it canceled the recovery from this JHS, right? So you're safe to block.
Right. What I'm saying is that then when you have to block their reversal, then you can use your guard cancels, right?
Oh yeah, and you don't even have to. Like if they do like a wake up super, then yeah, you can like just hit them with Baku and stuff, or Sakura. But if they do a dragon punch, also you can just block it and then do a big combo. Like Baiken doesn't even need to do her guard cancels to start a big damage combo for sure. So yeah, it will be a mistake. But yeah, I mean for the most part it's like safe jumps. 6K is big because when your opponent wants to throw you, you just do this. You're just like running at them like this, and then you know they go for a throw because throws have priority in plus R. 6K will take care of it, or you won't get Potemkin busted or anything like that. If you use 6K, so that will pave your way towards victory like that. So yeah.
Okay, so all right, well, okay, next section would normally be defensive options. I think we've touched on the main defensive options for sure. Is there more to her defense that's worth knowing besides that you can, you know, hit people in the face while you're blocking?
I'll just quickly mention that like all the guard cancels, maybe except Baku, have their weaknesses. So like Sakura is, you know, minus on block. Like this Oren is also like very unsafe. If they block it, they can get a big punish. Anji can combo Baiken for 60% of health for blocking that Oran. This Maori Komi is like a spin behind. This is also like you can throw Baiken while she's doing it, or you can hit her towards the end of it while she's still in recovery. Like it has a little bit of invul through it, but it's not completely invul. It does have an FRC, so you can like kind of cut down that recovery like a tiny bit. Most of the guard cancels have an FRC. Actually, all of them do, except for Baku because it's a super. This one, Oren, I'm trying to do it, but it also has an FRC by pressing it like a little too fast. I can't find it. There it is. So she can like, it's at the beginning of it, so it's just like a really funky jump. She can like full screen jump at the opponent. It's really funny. But yeah, each you have to use the guard cancel sparingly to be good with Baiken, and remember that just blocking can often make the opponent just back off on their own and jump away and stop pressuring you, and then you don't have to do anything and you go back to neutral, or you can start your pressure.
It's time to show me some combos, Woocash.
Oh, let's go.
You are, a big proponent that Baiken is a damaging character. You've shown me some pretty high damage so far. What do we need to know about Baiken's combo structure? What's she doing to tear him up, make him sweat, make him bleed? What do we got?
Yeah, sure. So there's two big pieces of Baiken combo theory that I will try to explain like in a very concise way. But at the basic level, like people will notice that it's difficult to combo with Baiken. Her Gatlings are pretty short, and Tatami just kind of like sends them away, and it's like, okay, what do I do out of that? Like, there's not a whole lot that you can do out of it, and it's like, oh, I don't really know what to do. So she kind of needs like to either spend meter or get like a good launcher or get that counter hit in order to combo. So one general piece that you probably seen me do is her JK loops. So she can get these like loops in the corner or even mid screen with JK. And they can start from mid screen. You kind of have to like dash in a little bit. So this is like a meterless one. So in order to do that, you have to do JK and jump cancel out of it, and then wait like a little bit, and then do like a falling JHS, and then Tatami. This is very flexible. Like this can be like a combo starter, like on its own. And then you depending on like how close you are to the corner, you can like start doing more stuff. But basically, you can do like even up to like 3 of those in a combo. This is too far, but I've done like weird loops where I do them like 3 towards a corner. And then another piece that you saw right there is to make an easier combo, you can opt to do like this JD FRC in the air. So like if you're like launching the opponent, you can do a JD FRC air dash forward and then do a heavy slash like that. And that's a very easy, great like combo stabilizer for the corner. But then like a little bit more about the loops is like in the corner, you wanna jump towards the opponent like this, and it will often cross the opponent up. And then to end the combo, you have to do a slightly complicated motion, do 6P into that Suzerain run. So that into like half circle back. And then you have to do the Zakuro motion, which is quarter circle down P. So this motion definitely takes some practice, but there's a lot of hit stun or like untechable time from this 6P, which is what lets her do that ender. So that's the ender. But in terms of the loops, you can sometimes get like a neutral jump on people, which is what lets you do like another loop. It kind of like depends on their hitbox. So this is why like Baiken combos are so difficult, because they're very dependent on their hitbox and their weight and how high they are in the combo. You can usually get 2 loops, but some people are like a lot thinner when they start falling. So see, this was a double loop combo. I just didn't do the ender, but that was a double loop combo. Basically, as a general guideline, if you're very close to them, you will jump forward first, but then you will jump up with the JHS cancel. Just think of each like as kind of like a double jump combo. But yeah, you sometimes have to be like very close to them. Testament is like a little bit better to do these combos than some other characters. Some characters like Soul or Order Soul are very difficult to get like a neutral jump JHS on them. So yeah, the jump loops take some practice, but are very rewarding if you can get them and if you know how many you can do. And you saw my Yozansen combo that I showed earlier from the mix-up. This combo that used a double jump loop. That used two of those loops. Just think of them as like pieces. And you can't do three loops there. Three would be too many. You can get three loops if you like start the combo with a loop or to get some kind of counter hit or something. So yeah, the loops is like one thing, and the other real quick thing is the JD FRC carry stuff. So you can get it pretty easily, even from like a JK hit, for example, or like any kind of launcher. You can do this into this, and then you're already like in the corner. And the lower they are, the better. And you get a very damaging combo for just 25 meter and with just like a JK starter. So this utilizes this into like an air dash tatami. You can get a similar combo like off of this as an RC by accident, but it's meant to be an FRC. Just take some practice to get that done.
Those low air tatamis, I never think they're actually going to come out, and they do every time.
So the lower the Baiken lands, the better it is, and you can do a bunch of interesting things with that. Like if you do that low air dash tatami called Kira tatami, you can sometimes connect Kabari to it, which is really cool. I can't always get the spacing for it, but see, you have to be like very fast on this to get it from not a counter hit. It's like dependent on enemy weight and like their hitbox. Like the bigger they are, the easier it is. So I can just put him on counter hit state to showcase this easier. We put him on blocking. There we go. You know, this, and you like get a combo. You can do this into even like 6HS sometimes. Depends on if you got like a good hit. But yeah, there's a couple of things that you can do there. And then this carry can be like very low, like that.
Yeah, like that's the one that every time I think you're gonna win. And
Yep.
Like
The lower you do it, the lower it is done, the more ideal it is, because Baiken has like more frame advantage and can do like a more damaging follow-up being 6HS. You want to hit them with a 6HS in the combo as much as possible. You know, and you can jump cancel that into that JD, provided you're not too far. Or sometimes you can just go for a 2D, which is faster. Like I just did there. As like a connector. So you basically have to kind of judge how far are you, how low are you jumping, how high is the opponent, will you have time for that 6HS. So you have to do a lot of judging like in the moment. So this is what makes like this is why like so few people are good with Baiken combos. You really have to develop like this feel for, okay, how high is the opponent, how high can I combo them, what hit can I use. It's really difficult to do that in the moment and in like tournament matches, but when you do it, then you get immense damage. You know, there's one FRC combos you can do like this. This is one of my favorites that I developed lately. For 50 meter, you can pour on some damage out of that with doing like a standing jump HS loop for huge damage. This has been one of my favorites to do in matches lately. I know people will want to know about this, but a lot of people. So one more thing that we should cover is like a lot of people are into the Kira Tatami like FRC combos, because that is one of the ways to bridge like a regular tatami hit combo from mid screen. So it's this motion. As you can see, like it's not a counter hit, but for 25-meter, if you execute this perfectly, you can connect a regular tatami hit towards the corner for a very damaging combo, pretty much of your choice. Like you can probably squeeze even. This is great damage. You can squeeze in maybe a bit more or less, or put in another 50-meter into this, or another 25-meter. I mean, but this is like what will make your Baiken so much stronger if you are able to pull this off in a match. It's very difficult. It took me years to get this, and only when like GGPO came about and someone helped me out a little bit with like the motions. I had a friend help me out with like the motions and kind of like labbing what I'm doing wrong, because I could never get it that well in the past. So shout outs to Zagar for helping me out with that. But yeah, that's the Kira Tatami FRC input. And if you want to know more in detail about how to do it, my FAQ covers that in text, which is probably better to listen to or to read to than to listen to. So one of like tricks that I discovered that I really enjoy is that you can actually go from a curse into another curse, which is really fun. For like a really show offy 100-meter thing. So like if you do like something like this, see, I ran out of counter hits. It was too many counter hits. So if you do the counter hit curse, even if it's mid screen and you lead them all the way to the corner, you can you have to like wait for him to like get down a little bit lower. There we go. So that was a counter hit curse into an unblockable curse. It's one of like really show offy tricks that I found. But with the counter hit curse, you can end it with another curse into the unblockable, and then do another like setup on them, which is really fun. But yeah,
that's one. Does it lock both buttons, or does the second button override the first one?
Yeah, you'll pretty much do the second one towards the end of this curse, so it won't like overlap or anything.
Oh, okay, I get what you're saying. So like the first curse is kind of like expiring in the middle.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the counter hit just helps you set up the second one.
Woocash, someone came to you today and said, "Hey man, think about playing Baiken, but I'm on the fence about it. What would you say to them to push them over the fence? Why should someone play Baiken in Guilty Gear XX? Accent Core plus R."
I'd say Baiken is, one of the most fun and most rewarding characters if you can put some time into her. She won't be if you kind of take her by the cover and like look at her at how she is, because she has a lot of stuff kind of like under the surface. She doesn't have like that good of a rushdown or as good of a mix-up as like some other people do, but with the ability, and then like you have to kind of take into account that her health is not great. She's third in terms of having least health. Like she's above Chip and Milia, so she's kind of like a high risk, high reward character. So I'd say go for her if you can put some time and effort and get that high reward with her. Because if you do, then you can do such strong combos with her. You can do such fun Baku mix-ups on them. You can just like ruin their life. So admittedly, I guess you have to like revel in their, enjoy reveling in their other people's misery a little bit. But what I really enjoy about the character is that counterplay aspect to making them guess even while they're on the offense that anytime I can just Baku them and I can just stop. Just kind of like flick my finger at them and be like, no, stop. With pressure and like offense being so strong in plus R, having that is like an extremely strong asset. And then there's so many cool techs that I've shown off, like the Kira Tatami tech, being like having taken like years to master that. I think it eventually paid off. Some of the combos that I can do and make people hurt for like 60-70 percent of health. Like I've seen people go wild over that, especially in tournament matches. So that kind of stuff is priceless. So don't forget to enjoy the aesthetic too, because I think like I was attracted to the character because of the aesthetic too. So I'd say if all those things line up for you, I'd say go for it, even if you're intimidated a little bit by Baiken's difficulty. I'd say it's gonna be worth it.
All right, dude. Love it. You really do like reveling in people's misery as an Anji Baiken dual main, huh?
A little bit, yeah. I think that's why I love Guilty Gear so much. I fell in love with those characters back in Reload, and Iska, like when I was a long time ago, and I had barely an idea about like how to do like a jump cancel. I didn't know any tech, and I was like, oh my god, these characters are so cool. I feel like they just kind of like really like embody you know my spirit, I guess you could say, like with fighting games. And like I've just put a lot of trust into those characters like over the years. And like, yeah, the unique thing I think about me is that like I can't imagine, you know, choosing one over the other, or being like, yeah, I'm just gonna drop like Baiken or something, you know, I'm gonna just stick to one character. I'd never want to do that, even though it does take like extra effort to play two characters.
All right, man. Well, that is all I've got for you today. Let's take this opportunity to once again plug your stuff. If people want to see you play some sweet Baiken or maybe some Anji, where can they find you? Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, where are you at?
Yeah, for sure. So my Twitter is at Luke Shooty. That's SHOOTY, kind of like my last name. So that's definitely a good spot to be updated about whatever I do FGC wise. And then my Twitch is Woocash PL. So just Woocash and then PL at the end. Been really enjoying getting into streaming, and I hit a nice stride with it. And we stream both Strive and Plus R occasionally, at least. So there's that. And then YouTube, where I put a lot of VODs, and anybody that enjoys like, oh, here I just want to like watch like 2 hours of like Anji or Baiken footage and some Strive gameplay too, or videos too. The YouTube is Woocash 1618, but probably should be easy to find if you just search for Woocash or Anji or something.
All right, dude. We did it.